Yes.
Joe, you wrote an article, Things Gun Owners Can Do to Get Involved. What was the catalyst for what made you write the article?
Well, the catalyst was we were talking about ammo a little bit earlier, and some of this I've developed the theory that I'm going to buy what I can buy when I can buy it.
Yeah.
I don't know how long this is going to last. I don't know if it's going to get worse before it gets better. So I've decided if I can find ammo someplace, I'm going to buy ammo. And so I found a place, and somebody.
He's not going to tell you, folks. So don't even bother.
Not a chance. And so somebody turned me on to this, and
the guy you stood in line with.
Not him, no. But I met him.
So I have this image of Joe, behind a grocery store, and some guy pulls up in like a Lincoln Continental or something, and
in the trunk. In the trunk, I do too.
It's like the charity match, right?
Or what was that? What was that one that they were looking for light bulbs on the one? Oh shoot, I can't even think of the name of it. But it's a great show, and they were looking for the old style light bulbs.
Seinfeld?
No, it was better than that.
I know that's usually the right answer.
Yeah, and they were in the grocery store, and they had a code word for these special light bulbs.
I don't know.
There's an old W.C. Fields movie with Mr. Muckle. That was a light bulb.
That was a light bulb too.
Anyway, all right, so you're out gathering ammo.
So decided I was going to do this. So found a place. We found out when they get their ammo. Somebody told me about this. So if you show up about a half an hour before they open, the day after they get their ammo, they usually have ammo, and the prices are higher, but I mean, I don't think they're any more inflated than they need to be. Because like we were saying earlier, the materials cost more, the shortage, I mean, they're paying more for it. Because some shops, I mean, there are some places that, I don't know if gouging is the right word, but there are some places where it's really high. And I think different businesses have different opportunities too. I think if you're like a big box store or a big national chain, you probably have more flexibility. Your prices can probably be a little bit lower. If you're just a single gun shop, it may be that you have to pay more because of the volume that you buy. So it could be things like that. But anyway, this place we discovered. So you get there about a half an hour or so before the doors open. And usually there's 10 or 12 people in line. And, you start to see the same people every week. So I've got like my ammo line friends now. And, the one guy over the week, I always talk about San Diego County Gun Owners, and he got involved, and he started looking us up, started reading the blog articles, and he was saying, you should write an article about what can people really do specifically, because they would ask there, and I'd rattle off a bunch of things, but it tends to be general. I tend to be general with that, and he's saying, no, what are some specific things? So I thought, well, let me ask some people that know more than I do. So I sent out a couple of emails. Three people I know that are heavily involved in the Republican Party, because the answer to all this is political. I mean, that's, the way to stop what Biden and all these people are doing is really political. That's the way to do it. And unfortunately, that road runs through the Republican Party. So that party's got to get fixed and utilized. So people need to get involved with things. And so I thought, well, let me ask some of these guys. All three of them are either current or former office holders. And I just sent a quick email. Hey, what are 3 or 4 things that people can do, specific things that people can do if they want to get involved? And not surprisingly, I heard nothing back from any. Actually, I heard nothing from 2, and I got a joke answer from 1. So then I decided,
you didn't get the number 1, which is send money.
Yeah, really.
Now, maybe it's coming though. They have the email now. But so I did. I decided, well, let me ask Michael about this. Michael, being a Second Amendment activist, should know about this stuff. And in 5 minutes, I got a whole page of stuff, enough to do the article of really great specific things. So
it was therapeutic.
I bet it was.
It was a little therapeutic.
Well, it was pretty much, you wrote my article for me, really, but some great stuff in there. And so, if we just go through it a couple of, because you had 5, you broke it down into 5 different areas, I think, of what people can do. And remember the 5 areas here. But the first one, you talked about organizations and getting involved in organizations. Yep. And you want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Organizations. So if I found personally, I mean, really the reason, we invented San Diego County Gun Owners is for years, I was a kind of a lone voice out in the wilderness. I mean, a couple, there were other people that valued the Second Amendment. Some of them were even in the political arena. But honestly, if you're just kind of out there spouting off, no one cares about your opinion, frankly, to be perfectly frank. So no matter how many people I spoke to, it was nowhere near as effective as it was after we formed San Diego County Gun Owners, because then it wasn't just me. I represented people, and those people donated money in order to help candidates. So people and money. It always goes back to people and money. So going at it alone is just ineffective. So, and there are a number of organizations out there that are shells. And what that means is they have officers, they have a piece of paper that says they exist. They probably even have a bank account, but they're kind of hanging on, you know, they kind of, well, you know, we're going to try to do this one project, but, you know, Bill's got a thing, he's got to travel, and Mary's got to raise her kids or whatever, you know, and
they didn't quit their job and put all of it into one project, which is what you did.
Well, you can't. I mean, how many people?
Well,
can
I
do
know,
that?
but that's. I think that's the point you're driving at.
Kind of, yeah. But join those organizations and help them. I mean, there are, you know, they elect a board, and then like everybody disappears, and the board is expected to, you know, do miracles. Join these organizations. Don't go at it alone. You're not just going to go down to a Republican Party meeting and say, hey, we all need to, you know, do this. And everybody's going to say, oh, we've been waiting for you to, you know, give us such sage advice. Join the organizations and help them. They're looking for you, and they're designed to allow you to be a force multiplier, so that you're not just one voice, you're a voice representing many.
Well, and I'm going to throw a little caveat in there as well. My first show was San Diego Off-Road Coalition. And Pismo Beach. You've heard me talk about Pismo Beach. You used to be able to camp there for $10 a night. You could take your vehicle off-road. They've had it closed for years. Because of Corva, San Diego Off-Road Coalition, Four Wheelers of California, it's now open. And it's because, as groups, we've physically gone to Sacramento. We've done the Zoom meetings. We've voiced our opinions. And we are making a definite change and a difference. No different than San Diego County Gun Owners.
The quickest and easiest, the most effective thing you can do right now to be an activist is join a group and start participating.
Exactly, so, without a doubt.
And, you know, for those listening now, please take the time to go look at the article, because we're going to go through it pretty quickly here. But, you know, Michael broke this up in about 5 different areas, and there are 5 or 6 specific things that you could do under each area. So, I mean, there's something for everybody. There's real stuff that you could take action on or act on right here. So, you know, please take a look at the article. It's on the San Diego County Gun Owners website on our blog page.
SDCGO.org/blog. You know what we'll do is we're going to spread this out into 2 segments. So we're going to spend the second segment too. So let's just talk about the next one, and then we'll finish it up in the next segment as well.
So the next one, then Michael was saying, was the elected. So the people that are elected officials. And, you know, I was saying this earlier, the resolution to this, you know, this anti-gun stuff and all the other stuff that's going on right now is a political solution. And, you know, unfortunately, it requires us to go through the other big political party out there, which is kind of in bad shape right now. So, man, this gets around to getting rid of the bad people or getting them voted out of office and getting good people elected in either party. But it comes down to that. So Michael was talking about the elected, the actual officials, and how to approach them.
If you don't know, and I've actually asked people this who've come up and said, "Hey, how can I be an effective activist? You know, what can I do? What you know, how do I get involved? That sort of thing." And everybody's kind of looking for this silver bullet. You know, like I have this piece of paper or something that says, you know, hey, just do this and it'll solve all your problems. If you don't know your city council member, your mayor, your assembly member, your state senator, your you know, your congressman, although they're a little bit more difficult, but if you at least don't know your city council member and your mayor and your school board and your assembly member and your county board of supervisors, if you don't know those folks, you know, I just named off about, I don't know, maybe about 10 people. Start there. Stop doing anything else, you know, and start there. You have to go get to know these elected officials, and because they're the ones that can make things happen. I'll give you a quick example. You know, this Nathan Fletcher guy, the county board of supervisors, mouthed off, and some organizations complained, and some you know, some other people complained and put out formal agreements, and it got a little bit of traction, but it didn't get real traction until the city of Santee actually passed it in an official manner. So let's talk about the elected a little bit more on the other side of the break. But
okay,
since we might as well give him the credit, right?
Oh yeah, I'd say I certainly did.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so we were talking about this week's blog article about what specifically people can do to get involved to help change things and help defend the country and the Constitution, the Second Amendment, and all that stuff that's under attack right now. So Michael was good enough to come up with 5 different areas that I pretty much put verbatim right into the article. So we have 5 different areas and then 5 or 6 really good, hard, specific things that you could do in each area. So we were talking about, when we left before the break, we were talking about getting to know your elected representatives and how you could interact with them, the best things to do.
So you just have to, like I said, drop everything that you're doing. And, project number 1 is go get to know your elected officials. They're not that hard to get to know. Now, I don't mean, Senator Feinstein. I'm talking about your mayor and your city council member, your school board member, the folks that are right there in your neighborhood. It's extremely important. They're the ones that get things done. They're kind of, they're leaders in the community, and they're the political workhorses for sure, especially in San Diego. And find candidates. And if you meet your city council member or your mayor or whoever, and you decide, hey, you know what, this person's not right for me. I don't like their stance on whatever, or they're ineffective, or they refuse to do anything. Then the next step is you got to get involved with whoever their opponent is. A lot of these city councils, we just had a city council race in Santee that was decided by 5 votes. And we won. Dustin Trotter, he's a pro-gun candidate. But it doesn't take a lot of work to help a city council member, a mayor, somebody in the local office win. It's hard for them to find volunteers. It's hard for them to get people to be dedicated. Which is unfortunate, and it's easy for you to reach out and say, "Hey, I'm interested in your race. What can I do to help?" They might need you to make phone calls. They might need you to stuff envelopes. They might just need you to get some neighbors together in your kitchen and just have them come over and say, or her come over and say a few words. But you can be enormously and amazingly effective by just supporting a candidate, and that was one of the first things I did as an activist way before San Diego County Gun Owners. I helped a guy who was running for Congress. I helped a guy who was running for sheriff. I helped a guy who was running for city council. And all you have to do is put yourself out there. Just reach out and say, "Hey, I want to help." And it's not hard. You don't have to be rich. You don't have to be a rocket surgeon. You can just say, "Hey, I'm here to help," and they'll put you to work.
Yeah, and
rocket surgeon?
A rocket surgeon.
Right.
I like that.
The local offices are really important too. If you get the wrong person locally. And I would point to, Nathan Fletcher as an example. I mean, they do a lot of damage locally, and these elections are decided, even at the supervisor level by hundreds of votes sometimes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can really influence these.
And you can get people. You can change an election. You can get people to show up to the polls who never were going to show up to the polls. You can get people who are going to show up to the polls to vote for who you need them to vote for, especially on these down-ticket races where people don't put a lot of research. Hey, did you know that so-and-so is against this? No, I had no idea. I was just going to vote for, I don't know, I see his yard signs all over the place. I was just going to vote for him for that reason. He just stepped down, but the former chairman of the Republican Party, Tony Kovarik, told me a long time ago, look, you can't boil the ocean. So when you watch Fox News, and what he meant by that, when you watch Fox News or whatever you're watching these days, and you see what's going on in Washington, D.C., you're one of 350 million people in this country, and you're focused on things that you have no control over, and you have very little ability to influence. So it's no wonder it's frustrating. Now, you probably live in a city, I don't know, depending on where you live, but you live in a city of maybe tens of thousands. In a city of tens of thousands, even in San Diego, it's a city of about 1.5 million, they have districts so that you live in a district of tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands. I think only in San Diego do they have districts that are that big, but most people live in a city where they live in a district of tens of thousands. You can have an influence in a district in tens of thousands. And that's what he means. And that's what he meant by don't try to boil the ocean. Just make sure that your city council member and your mayor and your assembly member make sure that they're pro-Second Amendment or believe whatever you want them to believe. But if you get involved, you can change that. And if you influence enough people to do the same thing in their district, then we're back on track. But if you just turn on Newsmax, Fox News, or whatever, CNN, and just get frustrated, nothing changes but your blood pressure.
Well, George Carlin always said, if you don't get involved, you have no voice.
Amen.
There you go. And that kind of leads us into the next area that we're talking about. We went from elected officials to the actual elections themselves. And Michael had some good advice along those lines as well.
Yeah, well, just the elections, that's where it all counts. I mean, in an off year, all you're doing is preparing for an election. But in the elections, that's where it counts. There's so many things you can do in an election. We were just talking about helping an elected official, helping a candidate. But you can get involved in organizations, that support candidates as well. But there's all kinds of things. You can create a voter guide. You can distribute a voter guide from somebody else. You can, champion a candidate and introduce them to everybody everybody in your neighborhood. There are all kinds of things you can do, and that's the bread and butter of politics. And once that person gets into office, now you know somebody who can actually, make change happen. And that's what's crucial. I think a lot of people sit back and kind of think, well, that's somebody else's responsibility. It's somebody else's job, or I'm not talented enough. But politics, running for office, is truly just a meritocracy. The more you work, the harder you work, the more you're rewarded. The more that you, more responsibility you're given, the more you're rewarded. And eventually your candidate gets into office, and then you can start to actually do something. If you just kind of wait and go, well, I'm going to vote for the person, and then expect to storm down to his office or her office and say, hey, here, you need to do this because I'm a voter, it's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. Politics is about people. It's about relationships. So you have to be that person. You have to have that relationship. And again, we've said this a number of times on the show. I said it at the monthly meeting last week that, this freedom and liberty that we have in our country, this form of government where we're the self-governed, the price of that, you don't just get that, they just hand it to you and you get to have it for the rest of your life. The price of that is eternal vigilance. And this is exactly what eternal vigilance is. You have to know who's running, you have to help them, you have to figure out who needs to win and how we can get them there. But most off, you have to take that first step.
Yeah, and then once you do get the right people in there, again, your next area was change of policy. So pick something that you want to go after and go after it.
Yeah, and pick something bite-sized, I don't know what it is, some kind of parking issue or something like that. I mean, I'm not saying like, hey, we got a guy elected for the city council, now we're going to eliminate the Federal Reserve. That's not going to happen.
Hey, well, I kind of like that.
But you can make change happen, but you have to take the first step.
And you're not making change for yourself, you're making change for your children.
Amen.
Thanks for watching our Magnum show, where we dig into gun owners topics a little more in depth. You can watch us live every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're in the San Diego area, you can listen to us on 1170 a.m. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can help restore and protect the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.